Hello, hi everybody. I wanted to give you a tour because it is gorgeous out here. We are getting rain for the first time in a long time. A few weeks probably. And everything, now that it's had a little bit of rain today, is looking really pretty. And I'm just glad that I didn't have to water from the hose today. So I wanted to show you a lot of the updates of things that we have growing from our last tour. Feverfew is now pumping out some pretty little mini daisy-like blooms. They just started up here in this front street side garden. The ones in the back are still just budding up. We got a lot of pretty berry-toned yarrow. We also have a terracotta yarrow over here. This is a little floppy today, but normally it's standing up more as Magus, more just for decoration, not really using that in blooms. Bouquets, I meant. And we have status in here. And one of my favorite things is the gladiolas have really come out and started making this area look quite full. As well as some liatris. You can probably see it right back there. I'll get a little bit closer later. Our sea holly, or eryngium, started to pump out at least one look in bloom. We have 3 plants up here. We have another calendula in here and one inside this area. Eventually the Magus will go away. Things are a little droopy looking because of the rain on them, but the garden just looks so pretty in the rain. I had to come out and do this. There's another feverfew that's a little further behind. Here's kind of the glads coming out. I have calendula here, and it is serving as a wonderful trap crop. I could use it for salves and so on and so forth, but we have a big old aphid problem, as I'm assuming most people are. So I am using calendula, as I usually do every year, as a trap crop, and it's very helpful. But there's lots of different types of aphids. We have the lisianthus starting to put on buds, which is looking good. I'm very excited for the Roseanne Browns that I grew on my own. The other ones were plugs that I purchased. Pretty confident that this tomato and this really tall trellis here is a black strawberry tomato. I need to figure out where the berries, crazy cherry ones, are. That's what happens when you drop your tomato tray. We got a puddle of water inside one of these big giant marigolds. You can see this liatris is blooming up. I only had a few corms or bulbs of liatris last year that I planted, and they have doubled the amount for sure this year. So I have a bunch of liatris that I might use in bouquets. The scabiosa pincushions flopping over. This is a trim project that needs to happen. Nigella is now all out of here. We'll be planting a second succession of either status or scabiosa, or maybe some zinnias, the third succession of zinnias up here. We'll see. Or it could also be marigolds, one or the other. We have a lot of snapdragons. These are the snapdragons that were growing in the spring, so they've just continued to push out side shoots and blooms. So they're smaller stems for the most part. Some of them are still pretty large, but we're just using those. I have to be careful though, because I have noticed some thrip issues. So we're just monitoring the situation. The amaranth I've used in a few bouquets is looking very robust and pretty. I in particular love the color of these leaves. This opio, and this little area is flanked by gladiolas, which coming up very strong. This front area has always done very well with gladiolas. Very, very well. Fountain's going strong. More amaranth. Look at these beautiful marigolds. And I cut these very deep. I make really deep cuts on these marigolds, and they just keep pumping and blooming and doing well. Annual phlox, well, or perennial phlox, actually, is starting to put on blooms on one of our plants. I think you can see it through there. This one's a lot more bushy, and we'll probably put on blooms soon. We have the birdhouse gourd, which actually has a lot of little gourds that have been pollinated. The bees and pollinators and such have been really enjoying this gourd, and it's starting to go up the trellis. And you see Walter, he's watching. We have a lot of really beautiful celosia. The celosia that I've growing, mostly the mix was this pinkyish color. I did get some reds and then a little bit of this, what do we call it? Like a lemony color. Oh, look. There's a little friend inside. Can you see it? Oh, there we go. I assume taking cover from the rain. This is one of the lavenders that I seeded myself and grew, so it's not as big as the lavenders that you get at the store and such. But hopefully, this maybe will come back next year. But once this kind of blooms a little more, I have a bunch of these. We might take off some of those flowers, and we'll just back around on the other side. Also, the eucalyptus in here is doing all right. The one in the back gardens is actually doing, I would say, a lot better. We have asters here. So China asters, we have red, pink, and purple. Everyone is getting these in their bouquets this month and the first week of July. And this bed will then get flipped probably to basil, combination of cardinal and cinnamon basil. Canterbury bells, we're along here. So we have more celosia planted and a few more little snapdragon plants in there. We're off to this section of the garden. Blueberries are all done. Love this annual to proven winners. I think it's a Calibrachoa, and I can't remember. Something punch, I think. But it's super big. There's 3 of them in there, and I wanted it to flow over the container. And then I have a celosia in the center, which I do need to cut on just to get out more stems. We have these 2 Rudbeckia plants. Wherever I could find space, I was planting whatever had germinated and come up. So we have actually a lot of Rudbeckia this year, and I really am enjoying it in my bouquets. Since it's raining, the annual phlox is a little tippy. I primarily grew this for actually a wedding, so I don't know that I will be using it too much in big market bouquets or CSA bouquets. If anyone asks for more like bud vase type of stuff, I'll likely use it in that, but don't typically put it in the bigger bouquets. And then we have the straw flower plants that made it through groundhog mayhem. The ones in the back look a whole lot worse. Then we have the along the house planter that has one of our crops of status and gomphrena, which has just started to pop up. I come out here and wiggle these little gompphrenas. You do the wiggle test on them to see if they got some stiff stems. They're close, but they're not there yet. We also have 2 cucumber plants. I should have had 4 times the amount of cucumber plants, but groundhogs took all of them out in the backyard. I'll show you that in a little bit. So I have the next succession has just started, and I'm going to need to start actually helping them attach to the trellis. But these are Katrina style. They're, I would say, texture of an English cucumber. They are a hybrid, and so it's like a smoother skin texture is what I'm talking about. They're really good with disease resistance. They do very well at the front of the house that just gets beat with sun for all afternoon long, and that's the front of our house is the hottest part of our house during the day because of that midday afternoon sun. But they're doing wonderful here, and they were interplanted with peas before, and that was probably the best decision I ever did. I've never had something stay so lush and green cucumber wise than when I interplanted them initially with peas. So I don't know how these will do since the peas aren't here anymore, but it was helpful. And then I'd have a marigold in the center just for a different type of color. Haven't had any pest issues, so that's really good. And we're slowly working on cutting the status that's ready. Everybody's getting a good amount of status in their bouquets this month as a big filler that they can, save. And one of the things I wanted to do with my bouquets is make sure that people had the opportunity to save them, especially if they might decide not to do bouquet club next year for a variety of different reasons. I live in a college town, so people kind of move around a lot. So it's not guaranteed that I always have the same customers every year. This is part of the second succession of zinnias. There's one in the front and one in the back. These ones will be pinched soon. The ones in the back were already pinched. And then I have also some of this, technically the second succession, but I guess you could call it third, because a mouse or something dug into the cell trays where these were. So it took out some of the seeds. So I replanted some seeds. So they're at a very small stage, but this was Canterbury bells. And this is a 4x8 bed. So I would say about 4x6 of the bed is zinnias, and the other 2 feet is another round of Persian cress. We'll see how that does. I like the sparkle of Persian cress. I ran out of green dragon cress seeds. I will be buying lots of that for next year because I really, really love green dragon cress. We got a really good showing on our onions. These are candy onions. They're doing really, really great in the green stalk. We've harvested a few because their tops snapped. Like this looks like it has, but it hasn't. So we had one on top that had snapped. I don't know if it was from wind or whatever, but we've been enjoying onions, and we'll preserve some in some way at some point. This area over here very much excites me. It's all of the celosia. I've been cutting on this for a while and is now producing, like 2 foot, almost 3 foot stems of one of my favorite feathery flowers. I love it. Like I said, it's mostly been pinks, a few of these limey colors, and in the back there's a really pretty like reddish pink. This is the first succession of zinnias. Pretty small succession, but we've been cutting on that, and these are primarily the Queenie series, lime, blush, and red. So here's an orange. This is a lime. Some of the limes don't blush, so they just look lime, but it is what it is. So this is red, and then I believe some of these that will come over here. This might be a red. I think this is more orangey. Yeah, I think this might be the orange one. And this one's likely going to be a blush one, I think. But we've just been cutting deep. It's very important to do because you want longer stems and a bushier plant. And they'll peter out at some point in time, so that's why we do successions. Sunflowers, we have another succession that we've put in. We've put them actually closer than we normally do because more sun hours, so on and so forth, and we want to get them still in the same amount of time. So this was a few weeks ago. This was just last week. I think these were more weeks than those ago, and those were more weeks than that. So you can kind of see the differences, and there's just empty pockets all the time. Every time we clean out the sunflowers, I put more compost in just to freshen up the bed because it really does deplete a lot. Look how cool the nasturtium is with it, like holds the little rain. I think it's so neat. but we use this as a pest deterrent. You can technically eat these. We don't, but I just think they're pretty. They look like little lily pads. This is our hedge of status that I'm constantly cutting on, and I just feel like more and more keep coming. Apparently I grew a lot of the silver, but I'm pretty sure that I definitely seeded more of the purple and blue, but here we are. I have a lot of apricot as well, which often comes off as a pink color. And to be honest, sometimes I really like the pink that comes out of it than the lighter apricot that comes out of it. So I would say this is more a rose. Yeah. And then this is more the apricot. But I only did apricot, so I don't know. Seeds are interesting. They're a little floppy because of the rain, but we will continue cutting on that, and I do have other suggestions of that will be coming along. Here we have our mums that are significantly larger than I had thought they were going to be. They were much smaller when we got them in the fall. They are big and robust and kind of taking up this whole area. I don't remember the colors. We have some up here as well, but we just kind of put stuff in here, transplanted some things, moved them from different areas. It's kind of like a Holden pattern area, but it'll provide some color and be really neat. So it still works for what we want it to be. I've been using the echinacea, which is orangey and pinky orange, really cool colors in some of the bouquets. And I just like the middles of echinacea. They're just fun to me. And then some traditional black-eyed Susans, state flower of Maryland. So gotta grow it. It's very welcomed here, and the bees love it. This area really doesn't have much in particular, because sometimes a neighbor needs to move in and out of here, so I really didn't want to put too much here that would get run over. So I just put an annual in. There's usually daffodils here, and this lavender is just sitting here until I can get it in the ground. But I got another lavender recently at a local nursery, a flower cart. Kind of going a different direction than I normally do. We have normally lots of hostas over here, but the dogs like to eat that, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, this is a very shaded area, so that's why we have hostas and hellebores. Oh my gosh, that scared the heck out of me. And the air conditioning unit. These have recovered from the great chomping that they had at some point in time. And we have peonies along here because this side of the pathway actually gets a lot of sun. Even if the sun shifts over the house, it still is hitting over here, which is cool. And then we have some gladiolas that we honestly planted here because I didn't know where to put them at the end of the season last year. So I just put them over here. They're super healthy and doing well. So, and I just cut two really, really pretty ones that are kind of like this grayish mauve and yellow. I think it's a butterfly one. Potatoes. We have 4 russet style that are doing well in their grow bags. Up here, we have some dwarf tomatoes in a green stalk that did have lettuce. And the entire thing was butter crunch lettuce, and I did not get to eat it because the groundhogs took it all. Groundhogs are gone. Here's that super pretty celosia that I was really looking for to have more of, and it's mostly pinks, but that's fine. I've noticed that a lot of flowers, oftentimes when I get mixes, ends up having a lot of pinks. So I need to be very intentional next year to buy individual seed sometimes. Celosia I might not do that with, but other stuff I will. These were 3 straw flowers that constantly got chewed down So now they're just coming back to life and branching. We have this cardinal basil, which is one of my favorite fillers. It is starting to flower on some of the plants. So we're waiting for that to happen, and then we will cut it and be able to use it in bouquets, which I'm excited about. Onions in a bed. I am not going to do onions in a bed next year. I think they're all just going to be in green stalks. I was very impressed with green stalks. We have some amaranth back here. These were just extra ones that I had. So I just put them back here in this bed because I was waiting for this bed to finish up with anemones and ranunculus corms. So that as that happened, I was kind of sort of just plopping things in. But the birds consistently peck at all of this celosia that was in here. There was around zinnias that were in here. They were pecked to death. So these likely will get cut and probably potentially pulled. Back here, I'm pretty sure we'll do this whole at least 4x4 in sunflowers, one of the successions of sunflowers, to have some in the back. We have the extra bunny tail grass, and then we have dahlias going around the back of this bed here, and an aster. I'm thinking of transitioning this bed into somewhat of perennial for a large portion of it. Because we do have a lot more creatures out in the back, and it's just harder to maintain. So I think that's what we're going to do, and starting with potentially dahlias because they've overwintered very well in our area. We'll see what happens this year, but in this part of this bed we have gladiolas, which I just planted in this past week. And these perennialize, so they will come up again next year. They'll come up stronger next year. But you can never have too many gladiolas, in my opinion, because I use them as a focal flower in my bouquets. These are the potatoes. They were ravaged by groundhogs. They were least bad of the 3 or 4 other ones. 4, I think. So we're letting them go, just waiting until they completely die out. Something else needs to go in there. I haven't decided what. I mean, I had decided what, and then some of the creatures decided otherwise for me. We did our first picking of peppers, particularly jalapenos. So we are going to have some cowboy candy coming up soon, which I'm excited about. Here is the zinnias that I have as a succession back here. They were covered with insect cloth just to make sure that the birds didn't peck at them as little wee things, and that helped a lot. So I got them to the stage where I could pinch them. I'm currently waiting also. You saw that some of the beds up front did not have straw in them. Prefer to have straw for moisture retention and weed control and so on and so forth. However, lots of things are out of stock, so I'm waiting for my order to come in for that. This is I'm growing basil so that I can have basil lemonade green stalk, which does get kind of munched on. It's fine. I just find the good leaves, keep it moving. And then there's one tomato down there. I brought sunflowers that I had started that some creature went through and dug up most of the seeds. So I'm also trying to figure out what actually still has seeds in it. Not too much is coming up, but I brought these out so that they could get some rainwater, just to cut down on me having to water them. Tomatoes need a little bit of airflow pruning, but they are making a recovery because they were significantly chopped and pecked down. So that's where we are with that. And we have a Carmen pepper. Whoop. Here we go. This one's big and beautiful, this tomato plant. I'm pretty sure this is a black strawberry tomato plant, which I really love. And does very, very, very well here. And because it's on the corner, I'm just using these kind of loose twisties to wrangle it so that it doesn't blow too much in the wind or fall over. Strawberry has some cucumbers in it. That one also has cucumber in it. This cucumber is just in amongst. That one actually has a trellis. These are gladiolas. They're coming up from being planted last year. And these are all the frizzle gladiolas. And they are gorgeous. And I love them. There's some areas where I definitely think I can fill in that maybe didn't come back from last year, or I don't know, something happened. So I could, once these kind of die back, dig in and also separate some and spread them out a little bit just to make it a little bit more even. Supertunia Bubblegum Vista. Say it all the time. My favorite hanging planter plant. So pretty, nice pop of color. Love it. The bird's favorite place, the fountain. That is just always disgusting, and I clean it out on a regular basis. And their little birdie poops are currently growing plants because they drop a lot of seeds and whatnot when they come and visit the fountain. Little eating area. The viola area back here too, continually squirrels and whatnot tend to pick on it, so I just kind of leave that one alone and don't really pick from it for crafting or any of that type of stuff. I'm just hoping that it kind of stays consistent with at least some sort of color. I do go in and trim a little bit so that it does have a little bit more blooms. This one also gets ravaged, and this one too. There's a squirrel that just continually digs in this one spot. So I just don't plant anything here anymore. The cucumber plants that were all along here, I left them, and I hoped that their little, I guess, runners, suckers, would maybe create another plant. And it looks like, at least for 3 of them, they might have had done it. I know one of them definitely didn't, so I planted a new tomato plant there that I had propagated from suckers. We do have an issue with some sort of animal that keeps coming around our yard and biting off our lights. It's all along this side of the fence and then behind our greenhouse. Bird, squirrel, don't know. Craspedia is doing well. I've been cutting on it regularly. There is something that comes and bites the tops off of them, and I don't know why. So that's a thing. But I was primarily growing these for crafting. I have thrown them in some of the member bouquets this month. Oh, sorry. Just because I thought they were fun. And it gives them another option to have some dried flowers. The reason why I wanted to do this was because I had come out earlier and I saw all of these poppies had blooms, and I was like, ooh, this is definitely an update since the last time I did this video. And there's a lot more poppy pods. I've only used like 1 or 2 in bouquets. This one's got a little bit more ravage. This is Black Swan. I really like this one. Lawrence Grape. This is Hungarian Blue over there. And the Lawrence Grape just produces a lot. The Hungarian does, and the Black Swan, not necessarily. But Lawrence Grape, you my girl. Bunny Tails, starting to produce and come out. Also Frosted Explosion. Oh, no, wait, is this Frost? No, yeah. Bunny Tails and Frosted Explosion are coming out in all the beds. We got Jade Bush Beans. I've had to come around and replant sometimes the beans because a creature has pulled them out. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Status is back here and doing quite well. Violas back here are looking really good. I'm pretty confident that tomato up there is Barry's Crazy Cherry. It's looking really nice. All of the planters that have the dwarf tomatoes up are looking really good. This is the feverfew in the back gardens. It's producing, oh jeez, weeds from neighbors' yards. Ah, gosh. And I need to pull them, otherwise they'll wrap themselves around my stuff. Right, they're starting to bloom. The ones in the front yard are quicker. They get the same amount of sun, so I don't know. We have another eucalyptus back there. Just trying eucalyptus in different spots. I have more eucalyptus that I'm going to be planting as well. Some yarrow here, parsley. This whole area is Rudbeckia, and I've been enjoying using those stems. They're very, very pretty. Mums, doing well. This one's lost most of its blooms. It was the first to bloom. Now the peach orangey one is coming out. I'm pretty sure one of those is peach and one of those is maybe a purple. It's interesting how they grow. Got some little marigolds here. The green stalk up here has tomatoes, and just recently put some basil in, and rosemary's been in there for a while. The lavender back here that I grew from seed now officially has a flower, which is cool. Experiments. I wasn't, guaranteed that would work out the way I wanted it to. This eucalyptus is doing the best, I think, out of all of them. And it's probably in the most crappiest of soil. How that works, don't know. The hostas are putting on their flower shoots, which are pretty. I enjoy those. And up there we got a bunch of seed starting stuff happening. Some marigolds, some basil, all the stuff that needs to get transplanted out. Here we have our loofah that has officially started to trellis on the deck. Our birdhouse gourd has started to trellis over there up the stairs. So we have 2 birdhouse gourds and only 1 loofah this year. So we'll see how that goes. And then we do have, this is ever-bearing strawberries that are doing really well in this bed. But the creatures eat this, so we don't really get to eat things that aren't covered, unfortunately, which makes me sad. But hopefully we will be able to eat these blackberries, which are not covered, but there should be enough for everybody to share. And they're very happy that they get some rainwater for sure. Always remember to water your berries and cucumbers and such, because they're basically water. Or a lot of water. So very excited. The blackberries are full. There's a